or another.
Beginner, so
Similar. Typically, used for carrying more gear over longer distances. You can throw in multiple packs or a couple kids, a dog. Kayaks are generally quicker. They turn faster, better for rivers, and really a lot better for oceans or surf. Depends what you're doing.
Beginners, I've heard we should have definitely started with the kayak. I wish I had known about your business before then, because it wasn't long before we were in the water. We maybe were in the actual canoe for 5 minutes, but we were in the water for a little bit longer than that before we could climb out. So I definitely tell you, how'd you get the motivation or the inspiration to really start your business?
The inspiration from the business, not mine, so I lead marketing here. Our lead designer founded the business a number of years ago. We're talking 8 or 9 years ago. And he is an architect by trade, and he was doing architecture with a material called Coroplast, which is basically a plastic cardboard. So he's pretty familiar with this type of material. He's also a pretty avid kayaker, and he moved from northern California down to San Francisco, down to the Bay Area. And in that move, he moved into a small apartment and couldn't keep his kayak. So he threw it in storage, and, this is kind of something he didn't like. He, would rather be out paddling every once in a while.
Right.
He read an article in the New Yorker about origami and had one of those kind of cliche aha moments where he, started believing he could make a kayak out of this plastic that he used a lot, using origami folding technique.
So the actual kayak actually folds and stores a lot better than anything else that's out there right now.
Yeah, it's totally different. We don't have a competitor on the market. Our boat folds to one sheet of plastic. There's 3 different models. You can get them in either 12 or 16 feet long, and it folds down into a case that you can check on a plane. You can carry on your back. Fit in the trunk of your car. So it folds down pretty small. Something that makes it a lot more portable.
Awesome. We're talking to Andy Cochran with Oru Kayak. Now, Andy, I know eventually it was time to maybe raise some capital and build some funds. Can you talk to us a little bit about how the company maybe brought on some investors, or at least pitched a few investors?
So we have raised funds actually in a number of ways now. So we have dabbled in crowdfunding. We launched initially 2012 in the fall with a Kickstarter campaign.
Okay.
That was roughly 3, give or take, years of development before that. So there's substantial resources, both human and financial, that go in before that of developing this boat. Probably 25 prototypes worth of testing and refining and iterating. We launched on Kickstarter in 2012. At that time, we were the largest outdoor Kickstarter ever, roughly $250,000. Used that money to set up a factory, to bring on a dev team, to build out a website, to hire 3, or I guess pay the 3 founders, at least enough to get by while the company started to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, we've gone through a couple rounds, small and mostly with angels, friends and family, but still have used that money each time for very specific needs. So it's not just like, this spring we're going to go out and raise money to grow. It's like we need a certain machine, or a certain mold for injection molding in the factory, or we're going after a distribution center in Europe. Let's raise, whatever it is, $400K for that.
Right. Do you always have very specific criteria? Because investors don't like just giving money for the sake of giving you money. They want to know where their cash is going, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, investors, it's a better way, I think, to reframe investment is just an accelerator. Like, the smartest thing you can say to an investor and make sure it's true is that you're going to get there regardless of their support or not. It's just their money is going to get you there faster. So if you reframe it like that as an accelerator, any of those things would have happened, or still in the future will happen for Oru. We just take on that money, make it happen, earn money from it, and pay it back.
Gotcha.
It's a better way to think about it.
Gotcha. Andy Cochran of Oru Kayak is on radio for small business right now. HomeofBiz.com. Connect, capitalize, go. Andy, you mentioned raising funds from friends and family, and by now you've got a little bit of experience. What are some tips that you can give other entrepreneurs who may be thinking about asking Uncle Ted for a few $1,000s?
It's a great question. So, like I mentioned to you a bit ago, we've done it through crowdfunding and through angels, and we've also appeared on Shark Tank.
That's right, yes.
So we've danced that dance too. The advice I'd give for even asking is to really do your homework and see if you need to ask for it. People are really intrigued by raising money, and here in the Bay we see it a lot. And one of kind of the most salient, the most important piece of advice I've gotten in my career is do not take investment if you don't need it. I think that it's essentially it's giving up control of your company, and not in a selfish, you need everything type of way, but just in having autonomy to make business decisions rapidly without a large board, without investors can dictate some of that is really helpful. And that's a piece of advice I got and heeded, and it's been important for me and us is to. So, when we didn't need it, don't take it.
So, Andy, most entrepreneurs, they'll say, of course I need money right now. We want a widget or something like that. How do you talk them down off the ledge to help them be real with themselves about whether or not they need to go raise capital?
Well, I would explain to them that if their product isn't profitable by itself, then taking money now is only going to put them in a larger problem of how do they work themselves out of that. So it's only going to make you struggle more. You'll be paying that back and trying to stay in the black at the same time. Which kind of complicates or almost doubles that problem. So we see most of people around us. It's almost the fastest way to sink yourself is to take on a large investment that you can't pay back. And it seems so intriguing because it's cash up front and you can make moves right now, and you're the new cool kid on the block that raised, such and such amount.
But eventually you got to pay the piper, right?
Right. So, my methodology is to do small prototyping all the time. So if people are, have really validated their product, that they can execute it, that the market really demands it, and they've done, sufficient testing in that sense through real pilots, getting it in people's hands, selling it in, small exclusive runs, and they know the demand's there, they know they can manufacture it, or they can build it if it's software. Then you can look at yourself, honestly in the eye and say, cool, I'll take investment, I'll accelerate this business to the next step.
Okay.
But until you've done that due diligence, seems a little risky to me.
Stay away from it, right?
And not risky in a good way. There's good risk in business decisions, and then there's just dumb risk.
I like the way you said it. Andy Cochran, owner of Oru Kayak. What's the website? Give the listeners the website.
The website is orukayak.com. That's O-R-U and kayak, which is spelled K-A-Y-A-K.com.
Andy Cochran, Oru Kayak. Thanks for taking your time out here on HomeBaBiz.com.
Connect, capitalize, go.
Hi, I'm Eugene Rowe, host of the podcast For Business. On behalf of our team, I'd like to say thanks. Every month, we're able to impact thousands of lives all over the globe with relevant, impactful, and insightful guests. Some of them have even been featured on national television shows like ABC's Shark Tank and CNBC's The Profit. Our mission is simple: to journey with you on your road to achievement. To do that, I'd like to invite you to partner with us in our Share All promise. I promise to continually share for free without commercial interruption and unnecessary subscriptions. And I ask that you promise to share us with your friends. Here's something you like? Simply use the social share buttons at the bottom of the page to tell your network about the podcast For Business. It's simple, easy, and only takes 5 seconds. That's it, partner. You've made the Share All promise.
All new Radio for Small Business.
It's Radio for Small Business on HomeBaBiz.com. My next guest is probably the smartest one I've ever talked to, okay? Mark Melny with Melny Connectors. I've got to tell you right now, welcome to the show, and you're definitely smarter than me, okay?
Yeah, I'm not going to bet on that, but go ahead.
I would bet on it. So tell us a little bit about Melny Connectors and the great things that you all do.
We are in the essence of an invention company. I started this company about 5-6 years ago. I had this invention in 2007, 2008, patented it, and received our patent in 13 months. So we had an issued patent, which was probably one of the fastest patents, ever.
Wow.
It was
Is that
pretty
unusual to get a
incredible.
patent that quick?
No, not at all. Matter of fact, in 2010, we went to Boise, Idaho, and we participated in what they call the Tech Launch 7. It was the Entrepreneur of the Year / Inventor of the Year, and we won that contest. When we did, it opened up the door for a lot of things. Looking at our company just as an invention company.
Wow.
And so the nature of my invention is it's really disruptive. It's the electrical industry has been going on for 60, 70 years doing the same type of connections between their cables and their wires. And you know what that is. Would be a crimp. And you saw it on the show. It's a regular piece of pipe that you take a very heavy pair of pliers, you squeeze it down, that pipe squeezes down on top of the conductors, and that gives you your connection
Really?
between two cables. Yeah, that's the standard crimp. And then in the industry, they take this crimp, which is a piece of metal. Again, it looks kind of like a metal pipe, and then they wrap it with tape, cambric tape, or the different types of tapes that they have, electrical tape, and to make it moisture-proof or environmentally insulated from the from the ground, etc.
Wow.
So what my invention does is it as the two conductors come into each other inside of my connector, then there's a spiral activity inside there that closes down on top of the conductor, similar to like Chinese finger trap, which makes a really excellent contact between the whole surface area of the conductor and the connector, and then radially tightens down on top of it, or radial and linear tightening for our latest devices. And then once those are tightened down on there, you have a hell of a connector. Sorry for that, but that's the way it is.
It's okay. So we're talking to Mark Melney with Melney Connectors, a wonderful invention company. You've seen him on ABC Shark Tank. Mark, you mentioned that the current electric industry, basically they're using a piece of metal and some tape. I mean, if I'd known this, I could be rich because half the appliances in my house used to be like that. Okay? So now your connectors, your inventions are revolutionizing the electrical industry. And like you said, it's offering a faster, safer, more cost-effective way to transfer power. Now, as a consumer, what does that mean to me on the consumer side?
We are going right now. We're concentrating on our commercial activities. We feel that the best way to enter this marketplace is through the commercial area, because the people that are going to be using it, the electricians, the linemen, these are the guys that really know their products. When it gets into their hands and you start, it's going to be kind of the trickle-down effect, where the professionals are saying, okay, this is the right way to go, and then it's going to go towards the residential and the home market. The very first device, just to give you an idea of the simplicity for making the connector with the Melney connector, as opposed to a standard 4-aught, what I described before, the 4-aught crimp that you have to use these huge, crimpers or whatever to do. My wife, Mary, she made the very first 4-aught connection with a Melney connector, using a pair of pliers, tightening it down, and then tightening down the end caps, which allow the insulator to be a part of the connector, so that it literally has a positive rejection of moisture and environment and stuff like that. So that gives you an idea how it will start going towards the residential.
So as it gets picked up more commercially, eventually I, as a consumer, will be able to see some benefit. Well, I won't see it probably, but I'll get the benefit of it, right?
You will be able to see it at your different outlets, like, the typical